It's a late night broadcast. I haven't pulled one of these out of my ass since there was snow on the ground. And being from Chicago, we are almost in June, which are the 3 warm months before we go. Tonight, we're going to touch on politics again, but we're going to go a little deeper. For the United States of America, I want to talk about internationalism, the future of black people in general, and the future of people of color overall, as well as white people. And in the second half, when we hit the 30-minute mark, it's all video games. But before we start this, as I always say, boys and girls, you are welcome. I don't care where you from. You can be from the east side to the west side to the north side to the south side, black, white, or yellow, or brown, whatever you may be. But it's all love when you own Black Heart TV. But my real name is Mark Jones 773. There we go. Now, check this out. Let me give this shout out to my family and my friends. The love of my life, Jennifer. She has many names. La Chica. She has La China. I'm sorry I said La Chica, but I mean La China. She also has Ravana, and Rodriguez is her other name. All right. So, let's put out here what we on today. In the last year and a half, I've learned that people are just people. And we don't learn to hate each other without being taught. And people say, well, only children can learn to be racist or learn to not like people of a certain ethnicity. That is not true. We are taught every time we watch television. We're taught every time we watch YouTube, which is the biggest media maker in the world, more than there is movies, more than there is anything. It brings a self-image, all right? As a black man from America who has survived a lot of things, whether you believe it or not, and if you're a black person in these United States, or are you a black person in the Americas, that includes Dominican Republic, Haiti, Jamaica, where you have to deny that you're black in the Dominican Republic, of course, the Brazil, South America. It is sad. But I had to learn something, that the racism that happens within us as black African people. What do I mean, right? Let's speak of Latin America first, before we go back to North America. Latin America has some of the strongest black DNA in the world outside of Africa. But what shocks me is, what Latinos or those of the Latin persuasion always surprise me is, you like everything that's black, but not black people. And I'll go back and I'll tell them, like, don't you understand, without the African, a lot of that Latin so-called culture that you have is not European. You want to dress white, but you want your women to have big asses like some black bitches. You want them to have that attitude of a black woman. You know why? Because she's a black woman. But what I'm learning is, where there's a black strain of DNA in a woman, she has a certain kind of attitude. And I'm going to give you an example, right? I've seen mean women who have been white, black, whatever, right? But there's a certain kind of attitude that a woman who has black DNA acts. And I'm starting to see that, no matter if they claim they're black or not, right? I'll give you an example. Many years ago, before I first got my driver's license, I used to drive around with a trainer who was Mexican. And she was mean. But she was a mean Mexican. And her meanness stems from her native bloodline. You can feel the Native American in her, even if she says she thinks she's white. But you can feel that Indian blood pumping through her veins. And it came out in her attitude. And she was mean and certain. She would become cold and stiff as an ironing board. But she would not be nice to people. Okay? All right. But she was cool in her own way. When she talked about things, it kind of surprised me when she said certain shit that kind of blew my mind. Like, one time she said, why is that nice looking white man with that ugly white woman? And I sat there and I was like, why the fuck is she talking like this? Do you want that white man? Truth be told, she did. But at the same time, I kind of got her meanness came from a Native American meanness. When Native Americans are mean a certain kind of way, that's the way it come out. Let's go on down to Puerto Ricans, Dominicans, and whatnot, because I talked to a Puerto Rican guy when I went out and bought me a TV. And he was so right and on point when these dumbass people say, oh, these has this saucy Latin attitude. Actually, that's a black bitch attitude. And I've been around enough Puerto Ricans, Dominicans, what else is it? Haitian women who are also black. They have the same black bitch attitude as black women here. And it's not an attitude, it's more of an edge. And that edge comes from because at one time that bloodline that's in black women stretches all the way back to Queen Cleopatra and even before that bitch, is that black women from the continent especially have always been royalty. And black kings and queens were never seen as in parts of the other world that I've learned, like in Asia or in Europe, where a queen was not as strong as a king. Later on in human history, they were strong as a man, like Queen Elizabeth or Queen Mary of Scots or so on and so on, right? I'm going to give an example, right? Most black queens that stood up and fought the Europeans were like Daenerys Targaryen, like the Queen of the Ashanti. The queens who fought the Arabs in the 7th century in North Africa, who were black, fought like Daenerys Targaryen, though they lost. But when the Arabs tried to come south of a certain line, that's why North Africa, you got lighter skinned people up there because they mixed themselves with the Arab blood. But at one time, even up there, they were all black, even with the invasion of Europeans following the fall of Roman Empire. There was still a strong presence of Afro or African people. But that DNA change completely switched when the Arabs came in and they cross-migrated, and who they did not kill, they raped. That's just the truth. And that's nothing uncommon, like, oh, people who get conquered are not murdered and raped and killed off. That's what happens. When the Americans were conquered, give it on from 600 years ago, like I talked in an earlier video, rape, murder, burning, killing is what happens. When the British took out the Scots, did you not think you were not going to get raped, murdered, and killed by the British? Of course you were. That's the fuck what happened. Now, let's go back to Latin America right quick. Okay, so let's think real hard. This attitude, the way these girls look, these big ass, these titties, all this shit is a very African trait. I watched this girl on YouTube called The Unpopular Egyptian. And she had some great points about things I didn't think about, right? Now, this is nothing against white people, okay? She talked about how her bloodline, as a modern day Egyptian, has mixed with Turk, Mameluke, Europeans, Greek, Roman, Dutch, whatever the fuck you want to call it. But she said she's still a black woman. And she didn't learn about how black she was until she brought herself to America. And she really learned a lot. And I appreciate that. And I think, like, I met a person who was Dominican once, who didn't know that nigga, he didn't know he was black until he came to America. He hated Haitians, he hated Jamaicans, he hated anything that looked like a Negro. But when he looked himself in the mirror, oh, I'm not black. Until he realized he was black. Your culture is black. Your demeanor is black. The way you carry yourself is how a nigga carries themselves. And that is the sad thing about a lot of black people who are self-hating and self-discriminating against themselves. Listen up, black folk. You could be light-skinned with long curly hair, which is a mixed look. That is not a look that is Latin, right? Let me give you some tropes, right? If you take certain children who are mixed between black and white, they look Puerto Rican or Dominican or Brazilian. You know why? They mixed. There's no such thing. Let me put it like this. I'm going to go overseas right quick, away from you. There's groups in Africa calling themselves Anglophones, Francophones, and Arabs. But when you see them, they're all Negroes. Well, I'm closer to my religion than I am to my race. Retard. I'm closer to my culture than I am to my race. Retard. I'm closer to my sexuality than I am to my race. Retard. And you are the only dumb motherfuckers thinking like that. I've never heard such fallacy. I'm going to give you a better example. White women, and not all white women, but white feminism is running a game on the minds of black women, Asian women, and Latino women, because I'll use this acronym to try to separate the groups, but let's keep it 100, right? They're running a dangerous game on these minority classes of women where they're like, yeah, fuck this toxic masculinity. Let me tell you something, baby. No woman wants a weak-ass man. That's a lie. And any woman telling you that, she ain't fucking with no man. She fucking with some woman. Alright? Let's keep it real. Self-hate is a bad thing, and now it's being transferred through feminism. Feminism was the act of helping females attain greater status, which is actually the feminine, is an African thing where at one time women and men were considered as, all through our ancient history, before we came in contact with the Arabs, who were black too, but the African black opposed to the Arab black were different. Arab black veiled their women. Now there was some black Africans that did the same thing, but the culture was divergent, where in African culture, women who were called queens, that whole thing what we call black queen, it's not an acronym, my friend. They've always been, I now hear Hispanic brothers call, oh, that's my Latin queen. Yeah, you picking up that black shit again, rather you know it or not. But I'm just telling you, see, niggas see shit that you don't see. But anyway, let's go over to the real shit, right? So, this feminism, which is anti-black male, anti-Hispanic male, and anti-Asian male, and you turn on your men, understand something, ladies. Right? When the 2016 election happened, for all these white female feminists, they didn't give a shit. They cared about their race as a whole. Let's go another deeper, right? Last year in the United States of America, there was zero, almost near zero white births. There was 2.8% black and 3.6% Hispanic. What does that mean? That means Negroes vote greater numbers than Hispanics and sometimes whites. We are the perfect middle ground in the United States of America, and I like a lot of things that blacks are doing here now. We're starting to get on code. We're starting to come together. No matter if you ADOS, no matter if you AFB, which is Africans of Slavery Division or whatever the fuck they want to call it, or anything else. But there is some strong divisions amongst our people on the inside and the outside. I've been learning lately that a lot of what we call Afro-Latinos want to join the Nation of Islam. They want to join the Nawapians. And they have the right to join because in a way they're related to the children of David, the Egyptians and all that, because if you carry our black DNA, that makes you family. That's another thing that people don't understand. If you carry any black blood, that makes you family, and it's harder for us to kill you. Just keep it at 100. Now, we're moving forward here. We have this group called what they call themselves, Hebrew Israelites. They are the biggest bunch of stupid niggas I've ever seen in my life. So the Hebrew Israelites will not allow an Egyptian, they will not allow a Somali, they will not allow an Ethiopian, an Eritrean, or any East African to join their organization. But yet and still, you flip around and put Mexicans into that organization. I understand they share the bloodline with us. I get that. But Mexicans lean strongly white on most things, right? No matter how dark they may be, they lean strongly white, all right? These groups are of the African diaspora, and they don't want, these Hebrew Israelite type niggas don't want to deal with these other people who are black. Retard. Another group thing I'm going to tell you about, right? And the division within our own group. And then I'm going to go talk about other people's division outside of blackness. But I'm going to go through this, right? So, there's a lot of new organizations coming. There's the movement to have our own language now, which is a great idea. Let's not speak French. Let's not speak English. Let's not speak Spanish. Let's not speak Portuguese as our first language. Let us have our own language as our first language. But there's a division. Francophone speaking people want to keep their French. Nigga, you're African. Have your own pride in an African language. Why do you need to speak French as your first language? Now, I'll be honest. I watched this thing in South Africa with their election, and Julius Malema, and sometimes Malema will go into speaking his own dialect of a language that's in that part of Africa. I can't understand what he's saying. But I applaud it 100% because English is not his first language. His first language is of the African mother tongue, which there are many tongues, many ways of writing, many everything, and I appreciate that. We should not be using English as our first language. Our people are people of rhythm. We are a rhythmatic people. Okay, so people sitting here thinking to themselves, what does that mean? I'll give you an example. You can have a so-called black Latino, right? So-called black Latino sing a song in Spanish and it will pour like fine wine. You know why? Because Spanish is a rhythmic language. It's a romance language, just like it is with French. You find a black person singing a song in French and it kind of rolls out of them, right? Now here's the greatness of the African American. We have turned a language that is a descent of the German language or the Anglo-Saxon language of Northern Europe that comes out of Germany, that is from Britain, and we were able to make this language sound good in hip-hop and in singing. We were able to flip it, right? Black people work on rhythm, but there is no rhythm to English. I'm just being honest. Now, let's go over to the whole world and the problems we have as a race, as human beings. There are divisions. I have an Asian girlfriend, and she talks to me about sometimes about how she feels about stuff, you know, the Japanese, what happened during World War II. And I'm not Filipino, so I can't understand what it's like for what the Japanese did or what anybody did to the Philippines during the time that country since independence, because I'm not from there. But I get where she comes from. And then she talks about the corruption. And corruption cripples an upcoming nation of people of color more than anything else in the world. But it's another thing that nobody ever wants to talk about or tell you, right? It seems to me, the more color you have in you, the more it seems like the Western civilization or lighter skinned people try to cripple your advance. That's all of Africa. I don't care if you light skinned African, dark skinned African. They don't want to see Africa rise, not in the north, the south, or the middle. They don't want to see it. But I thought, you know, the Philippines, Vietnam, those places are still poor. But there are places in Asia that are extremely rich. Extremely rich. Right? I don't know why that the Japanese or the Chinese are not trying to help their Asian brothers and sisters in the Philippines, in Vietnam, and other places like that. They should be trying to help them. They should also try to help their brothers and sisters, which I say they're part of the Asian diaspora. They should be trying to help their brothers and sisters in North Korea. On the African continent, I'm going to go back over to the African continent, right? They should be trying. I'm happy what they're doing. They're doing an Africa free trade agreement from the top of Africa to the bottom. This is a transformative moment. The two other things that the people on the African continent have to do is have a single international African language of black people worldwide and the adoption of a single African currency. I have two names for you. You can call it, or three. You can either call it the Mandela, you could call it the Gaddafi, or you can call it the Assad. What is his name? The black guy that got assassinated, the Egyptian leader. You can call it one of these three, and it will be great for the people of the African continent. Now let's move over to Latin America. I thought Latin Americans saw each other as the same. I should have known this because I've dealt with Hispanic people for a long time living in Chicago. The more black you have in you, sometimes it's the less that you are accepted. So you know the wannabe crowd, which are the black Latinos, will try to push themselves to be even more anti-black than those that look less black than those who are black Latinos, all right? So you have that problem. Listen to me, people. If you are in a group that you are undesirable because of your skin complexion, it doesn't matter how strong you are against or this or that way, it won't matter. It won't matter. So you have to concentrate on just taking pride in who you are as an individual. Now, my girlfriend who's Filipino, right? She struggles every month. I finna get this job so I can help her, because I love her. I love Jennifer. She knows I love her. She's a drama queen, and I don't care that she's a drama queen, so I'm finna get this job, finna help her more. Because I want to go over there and scoop her up and bring her. I want me and her to go to a place that's just me and her. But I do like her kids, so I do want to include them. I want her to meet my mom and my crazy little sister. You know? She always say, "You're a crazy Negro." She don't call me a crazy nigga or a Negro. She call me, "You crazy Negro." And I don't get mad when she say that, because they got Negroes in their country already. So it's cool. Now, the future. White people. Let's talk about you. You have a problem, right? The problem is for white people in white supremacy. You're going to have to dismantle this system, because it's coming to an end one way or the other. If you don't believe me, let me tell you something. We attain a status in human history as black people that you still have not attained. And I'll tell you what it is. You think you have attained it, but you have not. There's a white Jesus on a cross. Most Christians worship a white Jesus. All right? I'll give you that. I'll give you a symbol. Take the old gods of the Hindu religion. They all were black. They painted them blue now, but all the old gods of Hinduism were black. The ancient gods of most of Asia was black. The ancient gods of the Middle East are still black. That's why they practice Islam today, because Muhammad never showed his face. But if you show Muhammad's face, he might look black. Just telling you. Go over to the ancient gods in North Africa. Hannibal, the Egyptians, the ancient Nubians. All their gods were black. In the Americas, their gods were black. Now, what you've done for almost 7, 8, 9, 1,000 years is throw shit on the black name on a global basis. And people hate black people for no earthly reason, never met a black person, but they think automatically negative things. But here's the problem for you. Unlike you, even when we retreated from the world, our DNA is as strong as it has ever been. Yours is not. I'm here to tell white folk, you're going to have to start interbreeding with us Negroes. And I will tell you why. You're not having any babies. All these white men going to Asia trying to find them a young girl to have a child with. That child ends up with the same genetic prefects and defects that you have. You cannot replace us. Let me quote the Nazis. You are not going to replace us. But we can replace you. All these niggas breeding out, that black blood is still in there. And I don't care how racist some mixed motherfuckers may feel, they still pull towards blackness. Now, that's one love, peace, and happiness to everybody. I love everybody. No, I ain't gonna say that. I have love for everybody. I don't love it. I have love for everybody. There's a difference. If you don't, go look it up on the YouTube. That means I don't hate nobody that don't hate me. I'm not a Christian, and I'm not a Muslim. I believe in a return to the spirits and our ancestors as more of a stronger draw for the future of mankind than these religions we have now, because in reality, Islam, Christianity, Judaism, it's destroying us. Christianity has brought racism. Islam too. And so has Judaism. It is a disease that will affect us for thousands of years to come. Until we run into another race that ain't truly human, then we'll show our racism towards them. Straight up. And that's why we have not run into any other races outside this planet, because all the races watch what we do on TV like, these motherfuckers down here on Earth are racist as fuck. Now, we at that 30-minute mark already. I've covered some deep stuff. But the main thing is, at the end of the day, we're all human beings. You cannot... I want to say this the right way. The reason why the Arabs population has not dipped, but they're slowly doing this to themselves, they are stripping out all their black blood. Their population is going to plummet. You want to know why China's population is starting to fuck up? And they can't really have babies like they want to? Unless they got the black communities there, they have stripped out their black blood. Same thing in Japan. And the more you strip out the blackness from yourself, the harder it is going to be for those groups of people to survive. I am telling you. I am warning you. That's for anybody in the world to strip out what makes the black gene is what gives you life. It can be as much as 1.5%. As long as you have it, you're good. But the minute you go to being 100% anything away from Africa, you are extinct. My ancestors talk of groups of people who do not exist anymore. Right? Okay. I'm going to say this. 3 races that don't exist no more. Alright? The Breen. The Breen was a group of people who were very much like Caucasians. But they were not racist. They moved into an area of the world that no longer exists. That's all I'm going to say, because we ain't going to tell no more black secrets to nobody. So fuck it if you ever find them. When they had a natural disaster, it cut them off from Africa. When it did that, for 10,000 years they thrived. Until one year, they couldn't breed no more, and they didn't know why. The giants. They found these giant bones all over the world. Out of nowhere, these people went extinct. You know why? The black giants had went extinct. They killed them all. There was no way for a giant to repopulate their population from the black exodus, because black giants that existed about 8,000 years ago, when they died out, that was the end of that gene pool. The last are the Weem. The Weem were a black looking race of people with white hair. This whole ideal of storm, right? These people were super people. And what happened to them is a sad story. It wasn't a biological thing that happened to them. It was a natural disaster. The Breen populated the whole planet. And when the time of fire came, their cities burned, their countries sunk, they died out. But these were the first people to build the first pyramids in human history. And they will never talk about them. They'll find them, oh, this person had white hair, but they have Afro-Negro features. What the fuck is going on? Let's change this shit. We don't need no niggas to find out about this. But they had blood, they had white hair, and red hair, and blue eyes. That's not native to white people. It's just the recessive gene part of that that's in white people today. Now let's move over to the real shit. Oh yeah, and I don't believe the earth is flat, it's round. More shaped like a, what you call it? More shaped like a pear, but anyway. Video game time, video game time, video game time, video game time. Now, moving over into the video games. I got some shit to say. Let's talk about these son of a bitches that's running Sony. Let's talk about this no good motherfucker called Kichiro. What is his name? Kichiro Yoshida. And this motherfucker fucking up the video game industry. At least for us Sony people. You have had one of the most successful generations in your history as a company. And it's like you're trying to throw it all away. I don't understand. So for Chihiro, whatever your last name is, motherfucker, you a fuck boy. And I'm Sony nigga through and through, and you, my nigga, are a fuck boy. Straight up. And the motherfuckers that work at Sony PlayStation like, what the fuck are you doing? We don't need Microsoft. But that's on you. I'm gonna tell you what's gonna happen. I fucking hate Nintendo. But I play on the Nintendo. I'm not giving a motherfucker my money talking about we gonna stream our games. Well, bitch, you ain't gonna be having nobody playing. I have to throw that out there. You are a motherfucking fool. Following Microsoft and Stadia and all the rest of this shit, nobody wants that. And you gonna find out real quick. I'm gonna give you another one, right? Let's go off of just video games 1 second. Let's talk about all these damn streaming services, right? All these streaming services. People are finna get in trouble with this, right? I'll give you why. And I want y'all to hear me. There are too many streaming services. Too many. You have Netflix, you have Hulu, you have Amazon Prime, you got Disney. Sony wants another streaming service. Where's it gonna stop? There's PlayStation View. There's DirecTV Now. There's Sling. And 5 other cable provider services online. My television has free channels built into the TV. There's a whole network called Pluto TV in my TV. There's too much. Too much. So they say it's a change in the market. Okay. Okay, I'll give you that. It's a change in the market. So what has the change brought? Nothing good. There's trouble on the horizon for us as consumers. I got Comcast right now. Comcast have been better lately, but they can be some real bitches. Real talk. You gotta keep it 100. You gotta keep it smart. It's too many streaming services. And then when video games start streaming, how many people you gonna have to work with? Let's say EA Access. We got EA Access. Ubisoft want their streaming service. Let's say Sony get out of console business. They want their streaming service. Microsoft will have theirs. Nintendo has theirs. Who has the money to stream games from 5 different streaming services? Nobody. I'm gonna say this. Quote my big brother from off of YouTube. Content is king. And the thing is, if you don't have it, you're not going to survive. Just keep it at 100 with you. And people ain't going to tell you and keep it at 100. Too many streaming services. There's a crash coming. And so many people on the upper echelon is going to lose their money. But before they lose their money, they're going to lose their employees. We're talking tens of thousands of people on a global basis are going to lose their jobs. They say, we're trying to protect our intellectual property. Bitch, you sold the shit. You still have, who can make an Assassin's Creed game without getting sued? So how are you protecting your intellectual property? You're trying to stop piracy. You're trying to stop the ability to, but understand, if you do streaming, right? There's something now called these APKs, right? So let's say somebody makes an APK that's on Stadia's, right? All the games on Stadia use this APK. You're playing Stadia games without paying Stadia. That's exactly what's going to happen. Every time you try to make a medium and make it hard for people to copy, they copy it. You are making a huge, huge mistake. This streaming future that you're dreaming about, you're finna lose billions of dollars. Now, I done told you. You've been warned. But I know they're not going to listen to me. I'm just some Negro from Chicago. I hope one day that it works out for him. But I got a feeling it's not. I could be wrong. I've been wrong before. Not often. Hold on, y'all. Good people, I am back. Okay, so on to other video game things. PS5. Now, how can I put this? PS5 will be a good console, great console, whatever you want to call it. But it's the software that concerns me. Like I told you, there's going to be a war on exclusives. Not a war for them, but a war on them. And I don't know where that's going to end up.